Between action and cut, I feel a great peace sometimes.
If he can run tomorrow, he crash you to win the race.
I feel like I exist well between those two words for the most part.
For old time's sake.
Can't do it, Sally.
Welcome to Star Files News. Today we're talking about life, the legend of one of the cinema's greatest craftsmen. This is the story of Robert Duvall.
There's a moment between action and cut where magic happens, where an ordinary person transforms into something extraordinary,
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
where truth becomes art and art becomes immortal. For 7 decades, one man lived in that sacred space. A man who didn't chase stardom, but instead chased truth. A man who gave us characters so real, so deeply human, that we forgot we were watching someone act.
Hey, Boo.
I had one word, I had one line and I cut it. But that was all. When I come out of the house, I said, which way is home? And they said that way, but they cut that, so I had no lines, you know.
Yesterday, February 15th, 2026, that journey came to an end. Robert Duvall, at 95 years old, took his final bow. But the roles he left behind, they'll live forever. Welcome to Star Files News. Today, we're talking about the life, the legend, and the legacy of one of cinema's greatest craftsmen. This is the story of Robert Duvall. Picture this. It's 1962. A young actor steps onto a film set for his very first movie. The film is To Kill a Mockingbird, one of the most important American films ever made. And this young actor? He's playing Boo Radley, the mysterious, reclusive neighbor who becomes the soul of the story.
Hey, Boo.
I had one word, I had one line and I cut it. But that was all. When I come out of the house, I said, which way is home? And they said that way, but they cut that, so I had no lines, you know.
Here's the twist. Robert Duvall had no lines. 0. Actually, that's not entirely true. He did have one line. Just one. He was supposed to say, which way is home? But they cut it. So his debut in one of cinema's masterpieces was completely silent.
I don't know, we used to look for jobs, and then he said, this guy's gonna come to town one time with a big nose and a shock of black hair. He's very talented. You're gonna like this guy. He used to sleep on my floor, and then so he introduced me about 6 months later to Dustin Hoffman, you know, okay.
He slept on the floor, and I finally introduced him to Bob Duvall, just to get him out of the house.
We didn't ever think for 1 minute we were going to be successful to the degree that we would be famous.
It's not like these guys like Robert Redford and these guys, they must have difficult times going out the streets. I don't quite have that thing going for me, which is okay. Whatever I get is okay, you know.
Think about that for a second. Most actors would see that as a setback, maybe even an insult. But Duvall? He understood something profound. Acting isn't about talking, it's about being. It's about truth. And that silent performance as Boo Radley showed the world what Robert Duvall was made of. Without saying a single word, he created one of the most memorable characters in film history. But here's where the story gets even better. After that film, Duvall didn't become an overnight star. He moved to New York, struggled like every other actor, and formed friendships that would define a generation of cinema. He became roommates with Gene Hackman. And get this, Dustin Hoffman used to sleep on their floor. Can you imagine? 3 future legends scraping by in New York, sharing a tiny apartment, dreaming of making it big? Hackman later joked that he introduced Hoffman to Duvall just to get him out of the apartment. And speaking of dreams becoming a reality, we here at Star Files News have a dream too.
We're on a mission to have 1,000 subscribers, and we need your help. If you're enjoying it, do us a deep favor, hit that subscribe button right now.
Now, back to the story. The 1970s arrived, and Robert Duvall was about to explode onto the scene in ways no one could predict it. First came MASH in 1970, where he played Major Frank Burns. Then The Godfather in 1972. And this is where everything changed. Francis Coppola cast Duvall as Tom Hagen, the adopted son and lawyer to the Corleone family. Not the flashiest role, not the most violent, not the most memorable line, but Duvall brought such quiet power, such intelligence and loyalty to Tom Hagen that he earned his first Oscar nomination. Think about being in a movie with Marlon Brando and Al Pacino at their absolute peak and still standing out. That's the Duvall effect. But he wasn't done with Coppola. Oh no. In 1979, they reunited for Apocalypse Now, and Duvall delivered what might be the most iconic line in cinema history. You know the one. We all know the one. Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore, standing on a Vietnamese beach, helicopters roaring overhead, chaos everywhere, calmly says, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." That line became part of our cultural DNA. It's been quoted, parodied, referenced millions of times. And it's pure Duvall, finding the humanity, even the dark humor, in the madness of war. He was nominated for an Oscar again, but he wouldn't win yet. The nominations kept coming. The Great Santini in 1980, another nomination. He was becoming known as one of the best actors in the world, but the Academy still hadn't given him the gold statue for Best Actor. Then came 1983 and Tender Mercies. This was different. Duvall played Max Sledge, a broken-down country singer, an alcoholic trying to piece his life back together. It was quiet. It was raw. It was real. Duvall even wrote some of the songs he sang in the movie. Before the Oscars, he said something beautiful. "If I ever won for a part, I'd like to win for this part. I love this part." And he did. Finally, Robert Duvall won the Oscar for Best Actor. Not for the flashiest role, but for the most truthful one. But here's what separates Duvall from almost every other actor in Hollywood. He never stopped taking risks. He never got comfortable. In 1997, he wrote, directed, produced, and starred in The Apostle. It's a film about a Pentecostal preacher on the run, and it's one of the most powerful religious films ever made. The studios didn't want it. They passed on it. So what did Duvall do? He spent millions of his own money to make it happen. He believed in the story that much. And guess what? He got another Oscar nomination for it. That's the Duvall way. Follow the truth, not the money. Follow the character, not the fame. He returned to The Godfather Part 2, giving us more of Tom Hagen's quiet wisdom. But when they wanted him for Part 3, there was a salary dispute, and Duvall said no. He walked away from one of the biggest franchises in film history because he knew his worth. He appeared in Network, in Colors, in Sling Blade with Billy Bob Thornton, in Days of Thunder and Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise. More than 80 films across 7 decades, 7 Oscar nominations, 1 win. But more importantly, a body of work that represents pure, uncompromising artistry. But who was Robert Duvall when the cameras stopped rolling? He was a man who loved to dance, specifically the tango. He loved it so much he made a whole movie about it, Assassination Tango, where he met his wife, Luciana. They married in 2005, and she was with him until the very end. He owned a 360-acre ranch in Virginia, where he'd write scripts, ride horses, and live a life far removed from Hollywood glamour. He once said he was grateful he wasn't as recognizable as someone like Robert Redford, because it gave him freedom. He could go out, live normally, and that was okay with him. In interviews, he was humble, funny, self-deprecating. He said he was a terrible writer in school, but he learned that you have to live a little before you have something to say. You have to know something before you can write about it. When asked what he hoped people would remember about his work, he said simply that he was versatile, that he could do different things, and that people might benefit from the humanity in his performances. That's it. No grand statements, no ego. Just a craftsman talking about his craft. Robert Duvall once said something that defines his entire career. Between action and cut, I feel a great peace. I feel like I exist well between those two words. That's where he lived. That's where he thrived. In that space between action and cut, he gave us everything. He gave us Boo Radley's silent compassion. He gave us Tom Hagen's quiet loyalty. He gave us Kilgore's terrifying madness. He gave us Max Sledge's broken redemption. He gave us Augustus McCrae's weathered wisdom in Lonesome Dove, a role he said he was most proud of. 7 decades, more than 80 films, countless television roles, Emmy Awards, Oscar nominations, and through it all, one constant: authenticity. Robert Duvall never played a role the same way twice. He never took the easy path. He never sold out. He remained true to his craft until the very end. On February 15, 2026, surrounded by loved ones at his Virginia home, Robert Duvall passed away peacefully at age 95. His wife Luciana announced his death, calling him one of the greatest actors of our time, a man who had a deep passion for his craft. And she's right, but he was more than that. He was a teacher, showing us what dedication looks like. He was a pioneer, proving that you don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to be the most powerful. He was an artist who understood that the greatest performances come from truth, not tricks. Cinema has lost one of its giants, but the work remains, the performances remain, the truth remains. If you've never seen Tender Mercies, watch it. If you've never seen The Apostle, find it. If you've only seen The Godfather, go deeper. There's a whole universe of Robert Duvall performances waiting for you. Here at Star Files News, we'll keep telling these stories, honoring these legends, and celebrating the art of cinema. But we need you with us. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Join our community of film lovers. And remember what Robert Duvall taught us. Between action and cut, between beginning and end, there's a whole life worth living. Make it count. Rest in peace, Robert Duvall. The cameras have stopped rolling, but your legacy will never fade. This has been Star Files News. Thanks for watching.
I was out tangoing last night. Oh yeah, I've written a script on the tango. What I'm going to do is a feature film.
So, haircut time?
Yeah.
We're off.
My 3 hairs.
It's like Cinderella.
I didn't have to get a haircut because they'd be looking at her, not me.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of writing here as well?
Not much. I write sporadically. I was such a terrible writer in school, but I only write about...
I think you've improved.
Well, yeah, well, I think I can write about what I know, you know, but
Right.
I never knew anything then. I mean, when you're a young guy, what do you know, you know? You got to live a little bit, you know.
And what do you know now?
Well, a little bit more, maybe. A little bit more. I can't stay. I have to work. Someday when I'm wiping a drool and everything, and then I'll retire, but not for a while. I got too many things I want to do, you know.
Baby, you're the only dream I've ever had that's come true.
What is that thing that you hope people think of when they see your body of work?
Well, maybe they get something out of the fact that I think I'm versatile and can do different things, and you know, benefit from any of the humanity and the positive things that come out of those parts.